I froze your credit card. My husband's voice drifted through my car speakers like he was mentioning the weather. You're done using it until we talk this through. Before I could respond, my mother-in-law's voice cut in. Check with us before you spend another cent, she said, satisfaction dripping from every syllable. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I hung up, started the engine, and drove straight to my bank. What happened over the next few hours would end with 55 missed calls, and a marriage neither of us recognized anymore. My name is Emily. For 17 years, everyone assumed I was the wife who never pushed back. Mark ran a small construction company. I was a CPA, quietly managing money for medical practices and quietly out-earning him. It never mattered until his mother, Diane, moved in after his father's death and decided it should. At first she helped, then she hovered, then she ruled. She questioned my groceries, my daughter's dress, my coffee. A wife doesn't need her own spending money, she said once, only half joking. When I told Mark, his answer never changed. She means well. So I stayed quiet even while I was the one covering his slow business seasons from my own investment accounts, paying off an IRS penalty he never knew existed, funding our lake cabin from my inheritance. None of it needed thanks. It needed to be true. Then I overheard them in the kitchen. A man who doesn't control the money loses control of his family, Diane said. I waited for Mark to disagree. Instead, he said, maybe you're right, for words. That was the moment something in me finally closed. Days later, I bought our son a replacement laptop on our shared card. Nothing extravagant, nothing hidden. Diane saw the receipt before Mark did. By the next afternoon, they'd decided to freeze my card and teach me a lesson. What neither of them knew, that card was never the foundation of this family. I was at the bank. I didn't cry, and I didn't explain myself. I redirected my paycheck out of our joint account. I cut the monthly transfers that had quietly kept his business alive for years. I pulled my inheritance, my savings, my investments, and removed my name as guarantor on every one of his business credit lines. Each signature was a wall I should have built years ago. I wasn't even out of the parking lot when it started. Mark was mid-lunch with a client and his mother at a downtown restaurant, the kind of place he liked to be seen at when his card was declined at the table. Then again, he laughed it off the first time. By the third swipe, the client's polite smile had turned into something else, and Diane's face had gone white. His phone was already buzzing with his site, foreman, payroll hadn't gone through, and 2 subcontractors were threatening to walk off a job by Friday. He excused himself from the table and called me from the sidewalk, voice cracking in a way I'd never heard. By the time he got home, I was already at the kitchen table with a gray file box, 17 years of records I'd quietly kept. Every rescue, every transfer, every bill he never saw coming. He read through it, hands shaking, and finally looked up. You're ruining us, he said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ruin you, Mark. I removed my life support. Let's see how well your control holds up on its own. Diane arrived 20 minutes later, furious, insisting I'd torn her son's home apart. I didn't argue with her either. I slid across the table a decade of bank statements, including the transfer that had quietly covered his father's funeral costs the week Harold died. She read it in silence. For the first time in 3 years, she had nothing to say. Our kids walked in partway through. Olivia, without flinching, told her grandmother, "It became our business the day you started treating Mom like she couldn't run her own life." Ethan admitted he'd felt guilty for even wanting a laptop. That broke something in Mark that no spreadsheet could. I made a mistake, he finally said. Not a full apology, but the first honest sentence all day. I won't pretend. The weeks after were simple. Mark asked his mother to stay with his sister for a while. When we finally really talked, he admitted he'd let fear disguised as tradition convince him that protecting our family meant controlling me. I told him forgiveness isn't handed over. It's earned slowly, one honest month at a time. We rebuilt on new terms, one shared budget, separate personal accounts, no more decisions made for us by anyone. Diane, when she came back, didn't perform an apology. She simply stopped inserting herself and let that be the proof. Months later, on our anniversary, Mark slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a new credit card. Not because you need one, he said, because I finally know who's been holding this family together the whole time. I don't regret that drive to the bank. I didn't go there for revenge. I went to remind everyone, including myself, exactly whose name had been on the foundation the whole time. Never confuse control for love, and never underestimate the person in the room who never had to raise their voice, because when she finally moves, everything moves with her.